Hello, everyone. Welcome to another virtual event with Mysterious Galaxy. I am Nick, the Director of Events and Digital Marketer for the store. Tonight, we have three wonderful individuals, though I'm not including myself, mind you. We have Ananth Hirsh, Yuko Ota, and Jen Doyle, who unfortunately, due to some of the technical difficulties, can't be on camera, but they're here in virtual voice. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
You can't see it, but I'm waving.
We can feel it, though. We can definitely feel it, Jen.
Thank you.
For those who are not familiar, so Ananth and Yuko are the Ignus Award winning team behind Lucky Penny, which won a Cybil Award, was a JLG selection, and received a starred review from PW. Jen Doyle, also known as J.R. Doyle, is an up-and-coming artist, creator of Knights-Errant, a successful webcomic and Kickstarter project. They live in Brooklyn. Tonight, we are here, though, for their latest work, Pixels of You. I hope everyone has their copies out there. There we go. So this was released in both paperback and hardcover. If you have yet to get your own copies, luckily for you, you can go ahead and hit the link below. It says Buy Pixels of You, because we are also offering signed book plates from Ananth, Yuko, and Jen. So yay! But yes, getting back to the book. So first off, what can you tell us about Pixels of You? I know you've probably said this a bunch of times already doing the circuits, but one more time for us.
Yeah.
So the elevator pitch?
Yes.
Do you want me to do it? Oh my gosh.
I can, whatever.
Please, I'm tagging you in.
Oh, okay, all right. Pixels of You is about two characters named Indira and Fawn who live in New York. They both are interning at a photography gallery, and they don't really like each other very much, but they're forced to work on their final project by the gallery director after they have like a big argument in the gallery. The book is like has themes that talk about AI, sort of what that means socially, and sort of like in other aspects. And then there's also a thread of sort of growing friendship and romance in the book as well. So yeah, I'd say that.
That's good.
Good
job.
Is that good? Okay.
I did the last one, so
Yeah.
Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Jen?
Oh, no, sounds perfect to me.
Thank you. So right off the bat, as you kind of mentioned, it has a they begin as, you know, antagonistic to each other. I can't talk tonight, but there is definitely a theme of enemies to lovers here. Was that something from the start the three of you had decided on, or did it just become natural as the story progressed?
So when the story was originally pitched and was sold, it was actually originally like Rivals to Friendships story. And as we talked with Jen and they started working on the book, and we conferred together, we were like, this is a romance. We should change the ending a little bit. And very, very luckily, we talked to our editor, we talked to the publisher, and they were cool with us making the book explicitly romantic. So then we did a big pass that we added in more like text and subtext.
Yeah, I think it was I had a feeling it felt like a romance, but I didn't want to be the one to say it, so I kind of was waiting for Yuko or JR to bring it up. When Yuko did, I was like, yeah, you should talk to JR about it and see what happens. And the other thing that I think also helped push it that way is Jen is really good at drawing like moments between characters that could be construed one way or the other. Like there's like a
charged moment.
Jen, you have like a really good sense of like creating those charged moments of ambiguity.
Well, thank you.
And so like when Jen started passing the art in, we were like, yeah, this is also like visually very present, and so we all kind of got together. But I think that we were probably all on the same page to some degree. We just talked about it a little later than I think we would have thought. I don't. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, was there something?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if Jen had anything to add.
Let me see. Well, like when you first pitched the idea to me, and like after I read through the script, I was like, oh yeah, this is a romance. I'm gonna draw it as a romance.
Yay!
Good.
You're so smart.
Yeah, you got that big brain.
Yes, Jen, that was a great call, and I have to give you even more kudos on this cover because look at that. Just already the idea, like both of them are photographers, and photography, essentially has that element of not closest. I'm trying to think of yes, it has. I'm really bad tonight. It has the.
You're doing great.
It has. Thank you. It has.
Is it like intimacy?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Photography
that
can
was
be.
in the chat.
I
Thank
think
you,
it was in the
Anna.
chat. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, Anna, you're wonderful. Yes, photography itself has a very intimate feeling, especially when you're doing portrait work or Indira and Fawn. Because I know with Fawn, which is a little bit in the story, kind of takes the more not risky, safe photography without giving too much away. Indira is not. And so I really like that. And I think, Jen, getting back to that, you did a wonderful job on kind of even like hinting at this kind of intimacy because we don't even know who these characters are yet on this cover. But it's very provocative in a way and not creepy because I can see how in a way, where someone's taking a photograph, she looks unawares, but I think the color palette too really gives it a very warm feeling.
Oh, thank you. I actually remember while we were going through passes for the cover, there were like just from the thumbnails, I worried that this was coming off as kind of stalker-like. So I was like,
Yeah, I remember those conversations.
Yeah, which is like definitely something we didn't want to project from the cover, but
Yeah, no.
I think once the title and the type fell on there,
Yeah.
and also I don't know, Jen, you just like you got it right. So
oh, thank you.
No,
I'm so
Jen
glad.
totally did. And I have to say, what was your inspiration for the color palette? Because also the color palette really works with the emotions you're conveying here.
Oh, thank you. Just on the cover or like throughout the book?
Both, because pretty much a lot of the blues and pinks are very heavy in the story.
I'm trying to think I know I wanted like a neon pastel aesthetic, like when I was going through and trying to set the color keys, and looking at certain scenes and like establishing a palette for those. I think I also ended up being kind of surprised by how pink and blue it ended up being overall, but I was really pleased with how it came out.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and it looks very like lush and full.
Yes,
Even
I
with the
loved it.
small, like limited palette, it's really amazing to look at.
Jen, did I ever send you there's a photographer that I was really into at the time when I wrote this. Did I ever include any of that in the script or include it as reference at all?
I swear you did.
I'm pretty sure you did. It's been long enough that I can't say definitively, but you did send me a bunch of reference.
Okay, then just in case, I'll shout it out. There's a South African photographer that I'm a really big fan of named Elsa Bleda. She does like really incredible landscapes, and a lot of her photos are sort of these dreamy, sort of like neon, pastel-y colors. So if you if you like the look of Pixels of You, you might like her photography. Yeah.
Anna says, "Can you spell out the last name?"
Oh yeah. I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect.
She's on Instagram and Twitter.
Wonderful. So what were some of the other inspirations for the novel?
Do you want to show?
I don't know.
We discussed Pluto earlier. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
true. Yeah.
Okay.
We're chatting. I think this might even been before you came into the green room, Jen. We were talking about Pluto. You should go ahead.
Oh yeah. So Naoki Urasawa, who also wrote Monster and 20th Century Boys, he also did this kind of like reimagining of Astro Boy called Pluto, and it has like a very like grounded and interesting look at robots and androids, and like it's specifically designed for Fawn's parents, or especially drawn from how like Urasawa interprets I guess the less human passing robots in the story.
So was there anything in particular about the story of AI and robots, or robots and human relationships, that was really important for you to want to write a script for?
With the relationship between, I mean, so for anybody who is familiar with my and Ananth's work, that is kind of a ongoing theme of like people who are inhuman, people who would be considered monstrous, who gets to be considered a person. We really like stories about like monstrous people, and I don't think that Fawn really super fits into that, but I think that the protagonists who are othered in some way are like a really big draw for us.
Yeah, and I'd say like for us it runs the gamut a little bit of like sometimes it is sort of meant to investigate like a serious topic or something, and sometimes it's just for fun, you know. It's just I think for us we really tend to like grounded stories with like a layer of like something fantastic on top of it, whether that's something in science fiction or fantasy or whatever it is. As far as like, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I mean, like your brother works in tech, so this is something that's kind of like been in the background hum of your life.
The question was specifically about like the themes of the book and like the themes of AI in the book, or
yeah, like what, I guess, was there any particular reason why you decided to write a story with AIs and human relationships? If you have any personal like interest, which it sounds like, in writing those stories.
Yeah. So the development of the story was that the characters came first. I felt like Fawn was a little bit otherworldly in some way, but I couldn't figure out what it was exactly. Up to that point, we had only really written fantasy, and so we kind of wanted to not do that. And so I said, okay, let's look at science fiction, because it's something that we've sort of like written pitches and stories about, but we never sold any, and they never kind of went anywhere. And so I thought to myself, well, what if Fawn was like an AI or an android? And then I kind of put everything down and I started reading about AI, and it turned out that my brother had also worked in the field a little bit. So he was able to explain some like high level concepts to me in a way that like a non like a expert kind of like
layman
could thank you, like a layman could understand. And that really helped point me in the right direction. And so then I kept doing research, and what I found was that the things that I wanted out of their relationship were shored up by some of the research I was doing. And so some things from the original changed a little bit, but other things just sort of fed right into the themes of the story that we were working with. So it turned out to be a good fit, but it wasn't there from the beginning. Once it became a topic of interest, I was like reading about it nonstop though. It's pretty wild. It feels like something that is futuristic, you know, or like ahead of us, you know, but absolutely not. Like it's happening right now. And there's some cool things about it, and there's some, you know, pretty scary things about it. So yeah.
Like interspersed between the scenes of the book, there are these black pages that have white headlines on them, and those are paraphrased from modern headlines. Those are current.
Oh wow!
None of those headlines were made up beyond being paraphrased. Yeah, and
you know, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we had written, I want to say like 20 of those, and it was just a matter of like cutting that list down to like I think what fit the best in those gaps.
I mean, and also as time went on,
yeah.
news kept on happening. So something would come into the news and we're like, well, we got to use this because this is extremely dystopian and also fits within the themes of the book. We should fit this in and cut something else out.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was an interesting and like constantly, I guess, evolving process just because the news comes so fast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I really like your graphic novel. And it reminded me of another one that I have also enjoyed, Oh Human Star.
By Blue.
Blue, yeah.
Yes. So I was like, oh, this is wonderful. So I am also one that loves the ideas of talking about stories of what it really means to be human or a person and rights. We were talking a little bit about this in the green room. It was very refreshing to have a story where we're not talking about robots killing humans. Yes, so I absolutely love this one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So what was the process like for creating this futuristic setting and character development for Indira and Fawn from both a writing and illustration perspective?
You want to go or shall I?
I mean, sure. So like the entire thing takes place in New York. It was always it was conceived of as a story that takes place in New York because we live here. And the thing about New York is that there's a lot of aspects of it that are just extremely timeless. The settings, I mean, this is supposed to be like near future New York. So it's basically just modern day New York. And except that there's like self-driving cars and like AI citizens everywhere. But Jen, I know that you took a bunch of reference photos of Soho and the Met.
Yeah, I ran through the Met 15 hours before it was closing and took a bunch of reference photos for the Met scene. Because that's how my schedule ended up working out that day. But yeah, I also took reference photos in Soho, and for parts that I forgot to take reference photos, I actually heavily referenced Google Maps. And kind of tying in current data technology.
Is such a great tool for artists. Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially for the last couple years, I imagine, for people that can't get out.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
I forgot what author it was, but they said, oh, I should have been in Ireland about now, like when I was researching this, but then the pandemic happened. So Google Earth and a lot of friends and references were my go-tos because I couldn't be there to research.
Yeah. You gotta make do,
So I actually had to move away from Brooklyn during the pandemic. So I did end up using, again, heavily Google Maps. And actually, while drawing the backgrounds for this, I got very homesick for New York.
Oh.
It was oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
There's specifically this one scene, like a somewhat romantic scene where they're talking and there's romantic bokeh light in the back. But they're standing in a street and I was like, I have to include the garbage on the street.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah. That's how you know it's New York.
Yeah.
That actually tied.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's one of the last scenes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I won't spoil it, but
spoilers for garbage.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Show off the garbage.
There it is. It's so real.
Yeah, that's a New York trash can. I recognize that.
Jen, was that what made you nostalgic?
Yes, that is exactly what made me nostalgic. Like I wasn't expecting it. I think I was making sure the grounds looked wet because it had recently rained. And while I was adding the trash can and the garbage, I was like, I miss New York so much.
Oh man.
It wasn't a video of like Pizza Rat, it was garbage.
Yes.
This actually ties in very well for my next question. Can you talk about what personal experiences or influences? Sorry, we already did that one. It was can you talk about any personal experiences or influences that informed your story? Like reminiscing about pizza and wet or trash and wetness.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was just in the locations. Like it's set very deliberately in Soho, and then like another sort of like gallery part of Manhattan, probably like Chelsea or something like that. And then
Fawn lives in kind of like the more like slightly more suburban area of Brooklyn.
Yeah, and the Met also. I think those all really help to inform like the world of the story a lot. The park. We got a lot of locations in here.
Yeah, and this was also around the time that you were taking up photography, right?
Yeah. I was also doing photography, so that also went into it, I think.
There's some tech stuff in there that I feel like you can tell that someone who knows more than nothing wrote this.
That's about my knowledge level more than nothing.
Jen, was there anything that influenced more of your artistic influences on the story?
Let's think. Yeah, it's the process of working on the book spanned many years, so I'm trying to go back into my mindset.
Oh,
yeah.
So how many years went into the story?
Oh my god.
A lot.
I mean, I think the first draft was written like in 2014 or something.
Wow.
Like it was like 50 or 60 pages. That was even before we had an agent, I think. And then I can't actually remember, Jen, when we started working together.
It was 2017.
2017, okay.
So this story's been percolating for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think one of the things probably that, I don't know if it drove you crazy, Jen, but was how much, because it started such a long time ago, how much it had to be updated periodically.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the technology, in the end, it's going to end up dating itself no matter what. But I really wanted it to be as close to the present as possible. But Jen, sorry, you should. Sorry, you have a question to answer. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of artistic influences. Like I read a lot of josei manga to like try to draw inspiration for kind of like the atmosphere I wanted throughout the book. Like josei manga, which is like manga geared towards an older female audience. Not always romantic, but romance is often involved. I really love the work of Asuka Konishi. She did Haru's Curse.
Yeah, she's really good.
And they recently licensed her other series, which I think they made the name Yakuza Fiancé.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that describes it pretty clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. But her work has like she's very good at intense emotions and like basically reading comics and manga along those lines, like trying to see how they frame those emotions, how they paced like those emotional beats. I think that really helped and inspired me a lot.
How was the collaborative process, especially for something that has been in the works for like 8 years, it seems? And it sounds like, Jen, you came later in the project.
Oh man. Should I just start from like where I started at, and then I'll hand it off to you?
Sure. Yeah.
Wrote like the short script in 50 to 60 pages in like 2014, and then but when Yuko and I work together, the way it usually works is that I'll hand Yuko something, she tells me that she hates it, and then we talk about like, well, okay, so like why, and then from there we kind of like from there we kind of develop it. This was like pretty different for us though, because Yuko also is a cartoonist and artist, and so usually the process is that I'm mostly writing and Yuko's mostly drawing, but this time we we were writing together, and
Yeah.
I think at some point I handed it to you, and we started passing it back and forth.
Yeah. Thank you, Mysterious Galaxy. Yeah, like this book went through so many just like rounds of edits and like different forms. There was a point where we were completely stuck on something, so
Yeah.
I wound up writing every single plot beat, but also character revelation on a note card, and we spread them out in the living room. We started moving things around
Mhm.
so that things would flow more coherently.
Wow.
Yeah, that was I was
a lot.
really stuck. I had been banging my head against the draft for like 2 weeks, and Yuko was finally like, "Listen, let's step away from the computer. We'll write everything down, and then we'll basically look at it as a whole, and then see, you know, does moving this event on this note card to a different part of the book change anything? Does it improve anything?" And that actually helped us rearrange a couple of things, and I think it really like cracked, I would say, like what I would call like the beginning of like the final version of the script.
Yeah. I don't even remember what we were stuck on.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
was
like-
it like the I remember there was one thing like with the flashbacks and how we had the flashbacks organized.
You're right.
And, yeah.
You're right. Yeah. It was the flashbacks and dream sequences.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh
There's
yeah.
dream-
No. Yeah.
yeah.
Dream sequence.
that
There's
was
no
a-
flashbacks.
There's
Yeah.
oh my god, there's so many different versions of the dream sequence.
Yeah.
And like we tried to push them into kind of like a more horror space because Jen is like really good at like strong emotions, horror, like stuff that makes you kind of anxious.
Oh yeah, there was. I don't want to give too much away, but there was one moment because Indira has an artificial part, and when it seemed like it was malfunctioning, going crazy, I'm like, oh, what is that? Ah! So that was a good scene. Good job, Jen, on that one.
Oh, thank you. I remember before you and Yuko were rearranging the dream sequences, there was an earlier draft of the dream sequence that I was like drawing while at a cafe when we could still do that. The before time.
Oh yeah.
And it was turning out pretty gnarly, and I looked behind me and a kid was watching me draw.
Oh no!
Oh no.
And
I think I know which scene you're talking about too. Was it the one where we came back to you and we were like, "This is sweet, but I think it is maybe
too much.
dial it down a little."
I'm sorry we cut that scene.
Oh no! Even while I was drawing it, I was like, I don't. Oh, it's Baby Rook.
There he is. He was
Audience, this is Rook.
earlier.
Oh, look at the posies.
Yes.
Yes, can't content. This is what we're here for ultimately, right?
Yeah, this is the primo content.
Yeah.
So at some point though, Jen, you got involved, and then do you feel like I feel like you read over the script a couple of times, and we made revisions based on some of your notes even.
Oh yeah. Like I think I read like maybe 4 or 5 drafts of the script.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
Oh no, it was really interesting to see how it changed. And it was like usually just like slight things that would change the nuance of.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that the two of us work because we've been collaborating for like 12 years. Oh my god.
Mhm.
So usually when the two of us make comics together, just the two of us, everything is like extremely fluid. We'll like change the drop of a hat.
Yeah, it was really great working with you, Jen, because you were also very like, I guess I want to say down to clown, but
I
you're
was
very
on the
like
clown.
yeah, you're like
Thank
very
you.
on board and like also very patient. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being patient.
That should be That should be definitely in the like request artist category. Must be down to clown. So the story obviously also touches on issues of othering, including immigration, class, race, and sentience. What do you hope that readers will take away from Indira and Fawn's story?
It's a tough question. So I think my, like, how do I explain it? I want people to take away what naturally comes to them, and if they have a friend who also reads it and they have a conversation, like that to me is like interesting and like a good thing, something that I find gratifying, like when I hear about that. As far as the book goes, it wasn't necessarily that I wanted people to, it wasn't necessarily that we wanted people to walk away with something so much as we wanted to depict like a very textured world where there are just like lots of things going on at the same time, and you sort of have to navigate that and make your way, and you can still find friendship, love, purpose, all those things, but it's sort of in the midst of like the things I guess you struggle against. So maybe that's a takeaway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hope that people who are from like coming from a marginalized space will be able to read the book and say, oh, I identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
And if people read it and don't identify with it, hopefully they'll be able to get a interesting story. But at the very least, I don't know. I hope that people think a little bit about spaces that are built for a like certain group of people and the ways that they aren't open to. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm getting.
It's okay. You were having the same issue I was having, so it's okay.
Rook is there to support you.
Yes,
Mhm.
Thank you for your support, Rook. You can't even see him. He's here.
Yeah, that's like his ear.
Yeah.
What's your thought? Or?
Oh my God, what was my thought? Spaces that are built for only for specific people and that everybody has to live within, and just like the struggle of trying to live in a world that doesn't perceive you or like doesn't entirely think that you're worth like preserving, and considering that within a modern context.
Yeah, actually, you remind me. I will say that if there's one thing that I hope people do walk away from with it, it's the idea that I think we had this idea, sometimes it comes from fiction even, that AI is going to be some sort of like objective, it's going to have some sort of like objective decision-making process because it's a machine. And I do hope that one thing people walk away from the book thinking is understanding that the biases of the creators of technology get passed into the technology, especially when it's something like artificial intelligence. This is, I mean, you can go Google right now AI bias, and you'll get like, it's going to be pages and pages of stuff. It's like, that was the thing that I came across most predominantly. And it's like sometimes in very obvious ways and sometimes in very subtle ways, but yeah, I guess that's one thing that I hope people just kind of keep in their head is we pass on our biases to our technology, especially if it is something like artificial intelligence where it can learn.
Yeah, that's kind of like saying the same thing of, you pass down what you teach your biases to your children, and essentially, AI, artificial intelligence are created by humans, so that's the children.
Yeah. I think that, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Jen, was there anything that you wish people take away from the story that hasn't really been maybe talked about yet?
You kind of mostly covered also what I want people to take away, but like I guess like Fawn and Indra's initial conflict is like the friction they have reacting to each other's art, and I guess like a takeaway that I hope people get from this is like this art that makes you uncomfortable isn't inherently bad, and it's worth like exploring, like why does it make you uncomfortable, like what does what does it say about like the other person? What does it say about you? And just there, it's not like there's a gray space there to explore.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's fantastic. It's doing the same thing where it's making you question. It should be instilling questions and what exactly about this is making you uncomfortable. Is it me? Is it the art itself? So I like that. Very good.
Yeah.
So we obviously have some questions right now. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the audience questions, everyone. For anyone who is still tuned in, if you haven't asked a question yet or you want to ask some more that you now have, please go ahead and do that. So the first one has kind of already been discussed. How long did you have to write the script? So basically 8 years. You also talked about the development process, but we really didn't talk about how long did the art take. So how was the art side of things, Jenna? Or Jenna?
Art. The pandemic did affect the art progress a bit. So I'm trying to think of the timeline again. Even though we started working together on it in 2017, I didn't really start working on it in earnest until 2019. And
was that when you started thumbnailing, or was that when you were doing the final art?
2019 that was when I finished thumbnails and pencils, and then was starting to work on inks. And then pandemic was when I started inks. Wow. But it was, I guess, I don't know. It was an adventure.
Yeah. Every book is, yeah. So
I learned. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I feel like I definitely learned a lot about like the drawing process, especially for a book. It was the first time I'd ever worked on a book like this. Like all other books before had been like through online serialization, so that's a slightly different, I guess, method. But so yeah, I learned a lot from this, and I like really happy.
Is it correct that you drew the entire book on the iPad?
Yes.
Is it the one that you're on now?
Well, it was on the iPad that wouldn't let me be on camera. So,
of course.
Yeah, but that wasn't my intent to draw the entire book on the iPad. But due to pandemic reasons, I ended up drawing all of it on an iPad.
Yeah, I can't believe that. It's really, really incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Liz. Wow.
So,
well, I mean, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
When I started to do the color keys, by that point I was borrowing a laptop from a friend. So I did all of that on the computer because for CMYK reasons and printing reasons.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, all of the final art, all the inking was done on the iPad.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible because if you look at this book, you would never think that was the case.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you, Anna, for that question. Next, do you have any tips for people who are... Oh, that just shifted. Do you have any tips for people who are just starting out, experimenting with creating comics? How do we build worlds without overdoing it? And how do we create stories that can be translated well as a comic? Paneling tips too, maybe? So sounds like mostly, at least for the paneling, I guess, to Jen. But yeah, everyone.
Who wants to go?
I mean, regarding building worlds, like everything that the two of us do more or less is that like we enjoy like soft science fiction and soft fantasy, which is basically translates to us as completely modern day with like the thinnest veneer of of genre fiction on top, so that we can have something like slightly weird or slightly fantastical in there.
I think for us also, you have said this before, but we put character before everything else.
Yeah.
And usually the world building is informed by like the characters and the way their relationship moves or whatever that is.
Yeah, you get to see how the world is reflected by the characters, but you don't necessarily get world dumps from us. That's not the way that everyone's going to want to work. That's not the way everyone should work, but that's the way that we enjoy working between the two of us.
It is a pretty broad question. If I had a tip about that question in particular, I would probably say decide what is most important for you to express, and then maybe you read or look at work by artists who you feel, or cartoonists who you feel kind of like fulfill that type of storytelling. I mean, that's, I think, what I did. That it sounds like that's, Jen, what you did when you're talking about some of your Josei influences. Yeah. Do you want to hop on the question?
Oh yeah. So I guess like that segues into this, like reading a lot of work that inspires you also goes for like learning paneling, and like it's like studying authors who you think, or like studying authors whose pacing you think you would like to learn from. Like early on when I was learning to draw comics, I studied a lot of like Naoki Urasawa manga, like Monster. Also, God, what's her? The person who did Dokyusei. Let me try to find her name. Dokyusei. Sorry, I'm just getting her name real quick. But she has a very like her paneling style and Naoki Urasawa's paneling style are like dramatically different. But I think like learning various like paneling styles really helps you in the long term for like seeing what works for certain scenes, or like whether you want a grounded or dreamlike atmosphere. So I'm just getting her name. Nakamura Asumiko.
Oh, yeah, you got them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
JMPT, good job, excellent.
Yeah.
They said it like the same time.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's exactly it. But yeah, learning from a variety of different artists, like seeing how they pace and panel their scenes, I think is a great way to start. And then once you actually start doing it, because like even though mimicking it can help you study, once you start like drawing a lot of pages, you start to develop like your own sense of how to time things and whether something should be more decompressed or less decompressed. And I think being flexible definitely helps. Like once you outline a page, I think making a note to yourself and saying, this may change, that will help you so much. Like you may kill this entire page later. It may become 4 pages. Like having that flexibility really helps.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you're just starting out, I have to say like the number one thing to do is like be consistent. Like just stick to it, especially because comics unfortunately is a quantity game. You have to just whatever you decide to do, just do it consistently. Like if you're like, I'm gonna make like one page per week, I'm gonna make 1 page per month, I'm going to draw 1 panel per month, like whatever you do, just stick to it, because unfortunately it's a numbers game.
Yeah, and like over time it's like self-discipline. But a lot of times just tricking yourself into doing more work. It's just like one more line,
Yeah.
and suddenly it's an hour later, and
Yeah.
you did it.
Excellent. Great advice. Next question. How did you meet and come together as a team?
We meet and come together as a team.
Ananth, we met at karaoke.
Did we really?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
Whoa,
so funny.
that's so great considering there's a karaoke scene in this.
Yeah.
Wow, perfect.
Wow.
A mutual friend was having, I think, a birthday party.
It must have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Was this
Yeah.
the duet? That
Yeah.
one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's great. I love it.
Oh, it's fun.
So we were already acquainted, and then like, so we already like, we would like see each other like occasionally socially, like we ships in the night, and then years and years later, we all wound up getting represented by the same manager. So we had been looking for a artist to do this project, and Jen's name came up, and we're like, no way, Jen is too busy. There's like, they're already doing their own projects. There's no way that they would want to do something with us. And then it turns out
You were wrong.
you were wrong. Thank you for working with us.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anyone else doing this book.
Such a
And
great.
then we coincidentally ended up being neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we wound up living like 2.5 blocks away from each other for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I feel like we also bonded a lot over, like you said, you're really into josei, which is also like a genre that I really am a big fan of. So I remember getting a lot of recommendations from you. Yeah, we talked a lot about that stuff. I remember.
I think you were the one who recommended the author of Haru's Curse to me. So.
Oh, really? I didn't
yeah.
know that. Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, yes, I know that.
Yeah.
You were on that train early.
Mm-hmm. I guess so.
Sounds like a bit of serendipity. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. glad it worked out.
Great question. All right. Are there any aspects of the story you were pushed to change, parentheses, by the publisher or outside entity?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
We did bully Ananth into making him kiss at the end.
Yeah. That wasn't
Kiss.
bullying though. I was glad when you kind of came to me organically and were like, I think this is a romance. And then we went to Jen, and Jen was like, yeah. I mean, you said that earlier. You were drawing it like that before we had even talked about it.
Yeah, I can actually think of a couple of things. When I think we mentioned this before, when we originally wrote the first draft, it was like 40 or 60 pages.
Oh yeah.
And then we brought it to our agent, and he was like, "Okay, this is great, but no one wants to buy a novella. You have to make this twice as long." And we're like, "Oh, okay."
Not in. I don't think not in comics.
Yeah.
Novels,
So we had to go back, and we had to basically originally this was like really tiny story, and then
I think that ended up being positive.
Yeah.
Overall, because the story filled out a lot. Yeah, at first I was struggling. I remember at first it was a struggle because I kept coming back to you, and you would make suggestions and take it away yourself and come back. But for me, I was like, how are we gonna add 50, 60 pages? But it came together, I think.
Yeah.
And then it became a 170-page book.
It sure did. Sorry.
Sorry, Jen.
Yeah.
So
here's the problem. Like when you need to fill out a certain number of pages, you add themes, you layer them on, you add scenes, you layer them on, storylines, whatever it is. But the problem is like you do that to meet the minimum. But sometimes in order to play out, that stuff just keeps going.
Unfortunately, you have to bring all of the themes to a close.
Which I probably sound like I'm desperately explaining this to Jen. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, it was worth it.
Yeah.
It's necessary.
I was happy to do it.
I'm glad. Also, I feel like one thing that we got a lot of mileage out of was writing pages that had less panels or breathed more. Was something that I kind of was thinking about in terms of like their gallery shows, and so to display them as a gallery in the book, I think was just like a nice, like to me that was like a satisfying way to do it. And but those gallery scenes where you see the pieces, those each added probably like 5-6 pages. So
no, good point. Thank you. So obviously the book took a little bit of time. What was the most interesting aspect? It might be hard because, span of years. What was the most interesting aspect that was compelled you to continue instead of scrapping the book entirely?
Oh. Virtual event. Everyone apologize to J.R. Doyle.
And say how wonderful Jen is too.
Thanks. Wow.
Please,
Yay.
everyone give Jen a round of applause. They really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
They deserve all your praise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Compelled you to continue instead of scrapping the book entirely.
I mean, once a story goes into contract, you're contractually obligated.
That is a valid reason. Contracts.
That's true. But I think also for me, there are a lot of like themes and stuff layered on top, but I do think that the relationship and sort of like the chemistry between the two characters, that's like one of my favorite things that we write, I think.
Mhm.
So I think honestly that's what kept me going. Like if I felt exhausted or something, I would like write like a funny scene as opposed to like a I don't want to say like, I believe humorous scenes are substantive, but I'd write a humorous scene rather than like a substantive one because I wanted to get back into like the swing of it. So that kept me going.
Good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Especially that contract. Anything to get you going. With that contract.
You're legally obligated to finish that.
Is the title of your graphic novel an overt reference to the Cure song Pictures of You? And did the lyrics of the song inform the story?
It is an overt reference. They did not, although I think that the lyrics somewhat can be applied to the story in some ways. I don't know if the song in its entirety could be, but some of the lyrics, like, I don't know. But yeah, no, the title came pretty late, right? Because
it came really, really late.
this book had a lot of working titles, and
did.
We went back and forth with Maggie and
Our editor Maggie,
and I don't know if our agent was in that
Yeah.
loop, but
but
I
like
guess
also the marketing team.
I
It was
guess-
just like Abrams as the
But
conglomeration.
I think
all
Maggie was
saying this.
I think Maggie was between us and the marketing, so I don't think we spoke to marketing, but yeah, there was like 3 months of just kicking titles
I
back
think
and
we
forth.
didn't specifically talk to marketing, but marketing would send us messages through other people.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, there were probably like 10, 15, 20.
Oh my god.
It's a long list.
There's
Yeah.
there's a list, but there were only, I think, like it only had like 3 titles that really stuck.
Yeah, the struggle was like, is there, because there's like the technology aspect and then there's like the character aspect, the struggle was like, do we have something that covers both? And a lot of the titles were like technology titles. And
Yeah,
those,
we have threads of emails that are just like throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's just like
God.
lists of nonsense words, like all together.
yeah.
What were some of the best ofs?
Oh no.
I don't remember it all.
Honestly, have to look it up. I can't.
Machine
Okay.
learning. Machine
What was it?
learning.
Oh, machine
yeah, there
learning.
you
That
go.
was one.
Oh, that's right, because it's a planned machine learning. I
Yeah.
remember the good memory.
Jen in
some-
the clutch.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Some of the working titles were augmented photographers. I think was originally like the descriptive title of the pitch, and then Mirror Lens was a title that I think we were using internally for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean
But-
that one stuck around for the longest.
I
Yeah.
still refer to it in my head as mirror lens.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
all of my folders and files on my computer are called Mirror Lens.
Same.
I
It was
ended
very confusing
Aw.
when I had to organize that.
I
Yeah,
ended up
that's
changing
hard.
mine to Pixels of You. I think like this was just me, but like my problem with some of the titles like Mirror Lens was that they were a little bit cold, and
Thank you, Raphael.
they were a little bit cold, and I wanted something that at least had the warmth of like people in it somehow. So yeah.
I like that. We are just about out of time, but I want to make sure we get a couple more in.
Sure.
Raphael asks real quick, is there a digital version available? Will there ever be?
That I don't know. Is it
I think
on?
Andrew said that he read it digitally, so
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that there is he said that there's a Kindle version.
There might be a Kindle version.
I believe that
I'm
there's a
just
Kindle
checking
version.
right now. Don't mind me.
But
Kindle.
I just have to say, nothing
Kindle.
beats a physical copy.
Yeah.
especially through Mysterious Galaxy.
I will say that like for real though, like seeing Jen's art in print is really the way to go, in my opinion.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
it looks so good. The paper it's printed on is nice and heavy, and it's a little glossy, which also makes the colors pop off the page. And
You should read a book however is available to you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, also, I think the other reason I advocate reading for the book is the spreads were very deliberate, you know? And sometimes when you read on a Kindle or something, you're only reading a single page at a time. But seeing the pages across from each other sometimes makes a difference. Like, you know, in a scene like this, where it's going page by page. Oh,
Definitely.
like, you know? So there's reasons to, I think, read it in print. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm spacing on the name, but it started as that webcomic, and then it got Lore Olympus. That's the same thing with Lore Olympus. It's great as the digital media, but once the book actually came out, it was great to hold it. There's just something about that too. It just really adds to it. What? Yes, exactly. What are you all currently reading, or have you read?
What are we currently reading? You've been reading a lot.
Oh my god, what have I been reading? I have to open my library app.
Yuko, so since Yuko mostly is drawing, Yuko listens to a lot of audiobooks. You read
same thing. What have you been listening to?
Oh yeah, I read the Ancillary Justice series and I loved it. So I read Raven Tower, which is like the newer book by the same author, and I loved that.
And Lecky, wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a huge Anne Lecky fan. Like I've like really strong Ursula K. Le Guin vibes, especially in Raven Tower. If you like Ursula K. Le Guin, where it's like read the entire book and you're like, but what is it about? And then the last paragraph, it's like, this is what the entire book is about. I'm like, wow. So anyway, it's great. I love it.
I think I read Ancillary Justice because Jen, did you read it?
Yeah, I read it.
You recommended it to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I read it when it first came out, and I really loved it. I still haven't read the third book because I'm a fake fan, but I've been meaning to.
The first book is like really singular because it's like a really great concept, like super like high concept, like hard science fiction, but also has like really compelling characters. And then the second and third book are like each. They're like a full season of DS9, and I'm like, this is great. I love DS9. They're very different.
Yeah.
Have you read or listened to A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine?
Yeah.
I have not read the sequel. I need to. I've heard good things.
I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, that was good. I read Gideon the Ninth and the follow-up. Was it Harrow? Those were really
Harrow of the Ninth. Oh my god, you all are hitting it out of the park with these.
I think we've been watching a good deal of TV, but that's not reading.
Yeah.
That's just pandemic, you know.
Totally understand.
What else? I'm trying to think of comics that we've been reading.
Man, I don't know. I kind of stopped reading comics at some point because I work in comics, and I'm like, it makes me think too hard because I know how I know the craft too well, and I'm like, oh no, the panel flow is awful. Why did they word it why did they layer it like this? So like, it's like I have friends who work in like movies and like cartoons, and like I can't watch movies and cartoons anymore because my brain won't stop working. I want to relax.
Also, you can actually listen to like an audiobook while you work, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. What about you, Jen? Have you been reading anything lately?
Yeah, please.
I'm trying. So, not to just. I keep recommending various manga. My Broken Mariko is very good. It's. I will write down the Waka Hirako. Okay.
And we appreciate the manga suggestions. We're in the store. We're trying to grow them out in our manga section. So yes, we love this.
Oh, yeah. We have so many.
By Waka Hirako.
Perfect.
And I like that's a very heavy single volume comic. Very good, but very heavy. I recommend it with a warning. It's very heavy.
I'm excited to read that. Whenever Jen recommends something, I'm like, I gotta read it. Yeah.
Is there anything coming out next or you're working on that you want to talk about, hint at?
Do you want to go first, Jen?
Oh God. I'm working on another book coming out by First Second. It's an adaptation of Cory Doctorow's short novella Unauthorized Bread.
Hmm.
And yeah, I guess that's a published thing I'm working on that's coming out soon.
You also, a lot of your time is spent freelancing, right?
Well, I'm currently storyboarding on Castlevania.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Oh, so cool.
Jen, you're so cool.
Yeah.
This is the Jen hour. Come
I
on.
know.
Cries. Yeah.
How about you, Anantha or Yuko? What are you working on now that you want to talk about, or can you talk about?
I'm doing an enormous amount of freelance. A lot of it's NDA. I'm working on 2 video games and a television show, but also comics.
The game we can talk about, it's Fields of Mysteria. It's sort of like a farming sim game set in a fantasy world. So if you're a fan of Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon,
Rune Factory.
Yuko is a character designer. I'm a writer. So that's what we're doing freelancing. In terms of comics, we have an ongoing comic called Barbarous that's on our website.
Yeah, we got a Barbarous question.
Oh, which is at johnnywander.com.
How far along is it?
How far along is Barbarous? Oh boy.
So we finished season 1, which was 5 chapters, and we started season 2. The first chapter is posted, and we're in the middle of. We're almost done thumbnailing the second chapter, and then after that, it'll.
Yeah,
it'll
I
keep going
think the second season will be a little bit shorter. We vaguely have 5 seasons planned. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. We'll see. Everything changes as our tastes change.
That's fair.
Yeah, we're also doing so many things at the same time. If you're a Barbarous fan.
Liz says we should talk about how beautiful Barbarous is, and I agree. It's so beautiful.
Do you wanna grab a copy to show off the cover or something?
Oh yes.
These are self-published. They don't have a publisher yet, but we've just kind of been putting them out through Kickstarter. We print them at
These are like magazine sized.
Oh wow! Look at that.
They're really pretty large. You can actually you have a point of reference with pixels.
Oh, yeah.
This is like this size.
Yeah, what's a good spread?
The books are so beautiful.
They're
Every
really-
cover is amazing.
Here's a cool spread that I did. Ooh. It's basically like it's more like soft, like whereas Pixels that use soft sci-fi. This is soft fantasy or like soft fantasy. Can you say soft fantasy?
Oh, sure.
Urban fantasy? Does it count as urban fantasy?
It's
It's urban
like,
fantasy. Yeah.
You know, there's some weird shit, but also feelings. There's
It's
the main character has dropped out of wizard college and she's working with a monster man because she never got her wizard degree.
Wow.
and so she's in debt.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
college
you can
and-
buy physical
Wizard
copies
college
at our
debt.
store. Go to johnnywander.com and click the store button. You can also read it all for free. You can just go to our archive. You can do that too.
Or you can support them by Johnny Wander. Or
go ahead.
we're a little over time, but I just wanted to make sure I covered all the bases. Are there going to be any of the other, like maybe conventions or anything we should see you at coming up? Do you ever go to Comic-Con here in San Diego? I wish you did.
We went
used to.
once.
Yeah, I've been 2 or 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I went once.
But
Oh,
it was
okay.
it was like
Yeah.
15 years ago or something. It was a long time ago.
Much different now.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to be doing any conventions anytime soon. I want to. I miss seeing people. I miss like interacting with other humans.
Yeah, we'll see how the rest of the year goes. There's a possibility our manager is possibly discussing TCAF with us, which is Toronto Comics and Arts Festival in Toronto. It's actually run out of a library. It's free to attend. It's a fantastic show.
If anything, we'll probably be like digitally tabling because a lot of shows are.
We will be doing
that.
We will be doing a lot of that. There's a possibility we might go to ALA depending on how things work out. And then besides that, probably if we do a convention, it'll be in like the last half of the year, but we'll see how things go. But with the convention stuff, we're playing it by ear a little bit. So
That is very fair. How about you, Jen?
Oh, same. Like
Same.
I wish I could.
Okay.
I wish I could go do conventions, but
yeah.
woo.
Totally understandable. And my last question, I'm sorry, everyone, I couldn't answer all the questions. Where can people follow you and find you on social media if they aren't already?
Oh, well, Jen, why don't you go first?
You can. I'm mostly active on the Young Doyler on Twitter. I'll just put that in the chat. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have a Patreon, but the Patreon's on my Twitter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Are you on Instagram at all, or?
Oh no, I'm.
Okay. Oh no.
I'm too old for Instagram. I missed my chance.
Oh,
That's how I feel about TikTok. I am definitely too
Oh,
old
yes.
for TikTok.
Yeah, Ananth is at Ananth Hirsh, ANANTHHIRSH on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Idosaur, AIDOSAUR on Twitter and Instagram also. And you can find our comics at johnnywander.com.
Did I put that?
With Patreon. I think it's patreon.com/johnnywander. You can find that all through our
yeah, it's all on our website. If you like to read free
website.
comics, you'll be busy for like a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah, we've been updating johnnywander.com since like 2008, 2009.
Yeah. Mhm.
I read it when I was in high school.
No, don't tell me that.
Did you read it in high school?
Yes.
Amazing.
No, they were in middle school.
Wow.
I have to turn to dust now. Goodbye.
No.
That's my bedtime.
Well, before
Yeah,
you do, thank you so much, Ananth and Yuko and Jen. This was
Thank
so
you.
fun. I had a great time. And everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. If you came late, just tuning in now, this will be replayable on the same Crowdcast link. We're also going to archive this on our YouTube channel. All you have to do is search Mysterious Galaxy on YouTube and you'll find us. Don't forget, if you haven't already, you can get your own copy of Pixels of You, either hardcover or paperback, through our website, because you'll also get signed book plates by these wonderful people.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting us, and thank you for being such a great MC. Was that correct? Host?
Moderator, or yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great night. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you for our next event. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Give Rook all the loves.
Oh, we will.
Sorry, I
We will.
wasn't on camera.
Sorry, Jen.